Welcome to SVG-TV's news for Monday, August 29th, 2022. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. Commuters traveling on minibuses and taxis will have to pay increased fare come Thursday, September 1st. This following the approval of a request made by the Taxi Operators and Minibus Association to the Transport Board asking for the changes in light of rising gas prices. 2 weeks ago, Minister of Transport and Works Montgomery Daniel said the discussions about the increase would take place at cabinet level. A release from the Agency for Public Information dated August 23, 2022 outlined the new fares, most of which show a 50-cent increase for minibus rides from Kingston to areas such as Sion Hill, Lomans Hill, Camden Park, and Upper Cane Hall. Persons traveling to communities in the North Leeward and North Windward will see an increase of $2 for areas such as Kingston to Georgetown is now $5. Kingston to Sandy Bay and Overland is now $8, and Kingston to Chateaubelair and Fitzhugh and beyond now $8. Taxi fares from the Argyle International Airport to surrounding areas such as Diamond, Stubbs, Carapan, Enhams, and Bayaboo is now at $39, while rides to areas such as Honnestville, Cane Hall, and Sion Hill Bay range from $72 to $85. Rides to the Leeward areas such as Camden Park and Kettles start at $110 EC dollars. Bookament and Layou are $137 and $143 respectively, while North Leeward areas such as Trimaco, Rose Hall, and Chateaubelair range from $256 to $280. Taxi fares to Georgetown, Overland, and Sandy Bay range from $104 to $170. In other news now, despite some challenges with staffing and renovations, Minister of Education Curtis King is giving the assurance that the majority of schools will be ready for classes come September 5th. Minister King provided an update on school readiness while speaking on UFM's issues at hand on Sunday. He says a number of schools had to undergo major renovations as a result of use during the eruptions of La Soufrière volcano. He explains most of the schools are on track to be ready for the new school term. However, there are some delays with the St. Vincent Grammar School as well as the St. Mary Hutchison Primary School in Union Island.
I think the school in question, more than any other, is the St. Vincent Grammar School. What we discovered while doing the work on the main building is that the section that is occupied by the Form 1s, the new entrance, that section was severely compromised in the sense that it was termite infected. Let me say up front that there are certain type of work, heavy duty work, that might not be completed before the 5th of September. But the nature of that type of work will allow Baxter, who the subcontractors are, to continue to work like on weekends so that it would not affect the smooth operations of the schools. There is the Mary Hutchinson Primary School in Union. Presently, those students are housed in the Learning Resource Center, and we were really hoping that we can take them out by September 5th. We actually started a temporary building, but unfortunately that work will not be completed by the 5th of September. So that school will continue in the Learning Resource Center.
Coming out of Teachers Development Week, which concluded on Friday, Minister King admits the ministry is encountering challenges with filling vaccines at a number of schools. He says that out of 212 teachers who were dismissed last year for refusing to comply with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, 30 took the vaccine and returned to work, and more recently, 10 teachers reapplied for service. He adds the ministry is working to fill the teaching spots.
Out of the desire to see teachers return, the deadline was extended repeatedly. And therefore, normally, where the Ministry of Education would have completed their recommendations and sent to the Services Commission at an earlier period, because of these extensions, it could not be done that way. So that is why I made the point earlier that yes, we have some staffing issues, because now we have decided, well, the deadline has gone and we are submitting our recommendations. So we are hoping that, well, not hoping, we know that by this week coming, those issues will be resolved, so that we could get that information out to the schools, and the schools that need the reinforcement where teachers are concerned will have, but the teachers.
The newly appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kisal Peters, is encouraging the youth and women of St. Vincent and the Grenadines not to give up on their dreams and to work towards whatever they want in life. Speaking on the API Morning SVG program, the first woman to hold the Foreign Affairs portfolio says she wants her life to be an example to all who need hope.
At this swearing-in, I have tried to live my life and to be an example for the people who need it, for the young women who need an example of hard work brings success. And I am just happy, and I hope that my appointment in this new portfolio, and even the appointment before, would encourage the many young women and the young men to just stay focused and pursue your dreams and work towards that and try to drown out the many distractions that we have in the world today.
Senator Kisal Peters, who was officially sworn in as Minister of Foreign Affairs on Friday, tells API she was honored to receive the appointment, adding she was certain that after becoming a lawyer, she would eventually find her way into politics. Member of Parliament for East Kingston, Dwight Fitz-Bramble, challenges the churches across St. Vincent and the Grenadines to expand their congregations as a way to lower the country's crime rate. He was speaking at the Seventh-day Adventist Church March and Rally at the E.C. Joshua Tarmac, hosted as an initiative to end violence in SVG. Bramble says he believes if the churches intensify their efforts to reach the youth on the block, it could lead to a reduction in violence.
I'm not a preacher, but I grew up in the church. And we all know about Jesus going into the highways and the byways and carrying the message. Let us not restrict ourselves to the church building. Let us not restrict our activities and our involvement and our leadership on these issues to only Saturday morning sermon or Sunday morning sermon. I would like to say here that there's one famous American speaker, or preacher, and he made a speech many years ago highlighting the major influences on our young people. And back then, I think it was back in the 1980s, he said that the most important influential entity in our society and our young people was the home. And then you had secondly the school, third was the church, and fourth was the community, or as he called it, the streets. Now today, the rankings are reversed. The street, the community, the technology, those are the most influential entities on our young people today. And we have to take that back. We have to change that. And part of the process of changing that is for the church to go out into the highways and into the byways There's nothing wrong with going on the block up Rockies or going on the block up Sand Hill and engaging those guys on the block.
The march and rally also addressed the issue of violence against women. Last Thursday, the body of a female identified as Keisha Small was found dead on the E.T. Joshua tarmac. Her death is being investigated as a homicide, and the East Kingstown MP says he is very disappointed that the Prime Minister has not commented on the recent incidents of violence against women.
And yes, it is important for us to let our voices be heard when incidents such as what happened 2 days ago right behind us here, when incidents and vicious crimes such as what happened to Precious Williams in my constituency took place. But we have to make sure that we call it as it is, and we have to be relentless. I was so upset when earlier this week I heard our Prime Minister, and yes, I'm a politician and I'm going to say it as it is. Our Prime Minister went on national radio and talked about a police manhunt looking for somebody who stole 3 solar panels from the Argyle International Airport. A police manhunt for the thief, and not a single word about what happened here a few days ago. Not a single word about what happened to the 3 ladies who got shot right over there and 1 gentleman who got shot and killed. Not a single word about what happened to Precious Williams. And I am imploring the church, when something is wrong, you must call it wrong.
Vincentians are being reminded to ensure that trees around their properties are properly maintained as the peak of the hurricane season draws near. This comes from Director of Forestry Fitzgerald Providence, who cautions Vincentians of the dangers of overhanging trees. Providence says while trees play a very important role in the environment, they pose a significant danger during a weather event.
In terms of where they are, like if you're on an embankment, it's good to have some trees to hold the land. But where these trees are positioned is very important. That's why it's good to look at when you build in, to look at the environment around your home and how you manage the trees around your home. For example, we have persons who come into us and they have a coconut tree right over their houses. That is something that you should not allow. The coconut tree should have been cut and replaced with maybe a dwarf coconut tree before constructing the home. Also, some people build their homes right under a tree. Right. These trees should be removed, and you know what type of tree it is and what damage it can do or what it cannot do. So you make sure that you remove those things from around before you construct. Wait until the beginning of June to look at managing your trees around your homes. Actually, the best time to cut your trees is during the dry season, when they're a little bit dormant. They're not growing as rapidly, so that when the fresh rains come, they would flush back beautifully. So we want you all to manage your trees properly in terms of around your environment. Make sure they don't come in conflict with your houses.
Providence highlights the proper procedure for trimming trees, noting that the forestry team is not always available to assist private homeowners, as their main focus is the forest and clearing trees that pose a threat to schools, hospitals, and other public buildings.
We can't guarantee that forestry would respond immediately because we have so many things to do, and our priority is forest, and we have public institutions, and we do try to assist in terms of some private tree cutting. Okay, well, in terms of our forestry, our main responsibility is the management of the forest, the natural forest, the interior forest, and the coastal forest. However, we do offer a tree cutting service, but it's sometimes overburdened because it's not our first priority responsibility, but we have a lot of persons making requests, particularly during the hurricane season, because of the concern with trees around their homes. But there are persons out there who do
offer a private service in terms of cutting trees. And what we're trying to do in forestry is offer training in terms of how you best to cut trees so that you won't have damage, because some persons may be cutting a tree and they don't know about cutting the tree properly, and they cut the tree properly and it falls in a particular way. It falls and can damage property and sometimes can damage life if you don't know what you're doing.
Providence also cautions persons to properly dispose of the trees after cutting to avoid drain blockage and landslides.
But we encourage you to seek guidance in terms of how you cut those trees and also in the disposal of the material. It would be good in terms of if you can compost the material, but just don't dump whole big logs into the streams and rivers, because they become log jams at bridges and any obstruction. They can cause flooding. So we ask you to try to reduce the material, the heavy weight. There are still persons who are involved in charcoal burning. You can contact one of those persons and they would remove them and make charcoal. So we ask again that we encourage persons to manage the trees around their home properly, that they wouldn't become a conflict to them, particularly during the hurricane season.
As local food prices continue to increase as a result of the high inflation, supermarket owners are being encouraged to give consumers an ease. This from Glenroy George, owner of the Diamond Grocery chain, who appeared as a guest on SVG-TV's Viewpoint program on Sunday. George says a number of issues are contributing to supermarket prices increasing, including the rising oil prices, delays caused by COVID-19 pandemic, and supply chain issues as a result of the war in Ukraine. As a way to mitigate the price increases, George called on supermarket owners to offer a reduced markup on popular items.
One of the things we can do as a private sector is offer, as Kirkwood mentioned, that some place we're doing with respect to a reduced markup. Because you know that, okay, this particular product is going to turn over quickly. We can decide that, okay, rather than take a 20% on it, you decide to take a 15% and you offer that. And that turnover will spur more traffic as well. The person may pick up more, because as you said, when people have more money in the pocket, they may pick up something else because of the savings they may get. So probably it's more specials. So it's back to school weekend. We know that you get juices and snacks for the children are going to sell a reduced markup and offering that customer the ability to purchase a little bit more to back that school bag, lunch bag, and so on. May be something that can be done by the private sector.
George also suggests that discounts can be offered to the aging community, as he notes this group is most likely living on a fixed income.
The private sector can do as well, because you know that this person is a customer who's a pensioner, retiree, or whatever it is, and that person come to your store religiously. You just like how you make provision for a senior citizen lines at certain businesses and so on.
Yes.
There are certain incentives can be offered to such persons as well, as businesses can think about doing, whether you offer them a 5% off on their purchases and so on, rather than they pay the full brunt of price when they go to the cash till.